let's give the people, this is important. There's way more to get to. We're definitely not going to get to all of it, but we need to talk a little bit about West Papua, and then we'll do one piece of sound and take a few Discord questions and get out of here. We talked about West Papua a couple of weeks ago in the commentary. This is a province that is primarily a minority in Indonesia, and it's been a site for decades of the dual relationship in Indonesia of military occupation and human rights abuses at the sort of in conjunction with Western capital and gold mining interests. And there were uprises and crackdowns and some tech blackouts there that sort of paralleled some of what the Modi government is doing in Kashmir. And what's happened in the last couple of weeks, David?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, basically over the past couple of days even, there has just been another really horrible, violent crackdown from security forces against the people in West Papua. 26 people were killed, around 70 injured from gunshot wounds from security forces firing into protesters. There's been another very violent crackdown, basically on student-led protests on the island, basically that came out of response to racist comments again surfacing from a teacher. So it's just something that you definitely need to be paying attention to, and also understand the larger context. What's going on in Indonesia as a whole. In the past few days, there have also been massive student-led protests. I'm talking thousands and thousands of people in Jakarta and other major cities across the country after a new law was proposed that is going to create a new criminal code that does everything from criminalize extramarital sex to homosexuality. But also, and this is very important because a lot of people in the Western press has been really fixated on the sexual aspects of this law, but they also want to criminalize the teaching of Marxist-Leninism. So it's a very, very wide new criminal code that people are actively struggling against right now, and they deserve all of our solidarity and attention.
And that going back to the 60s, where the United States actively participated in supporting the mass murder of potentially 1 million people and conservatively hundreds of thousands of people, the Suharto government contracted gangs and paramilitaries that killed people on an industrial scale with the backing of the United States government, the CIA. And if you watch like a documentary like Brief History of Seven Killings, you see that, in fact, these paramilitaries, these gangsters are still there's been not only not like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, they're valorized in the country. So even as there's been modest reforms, there's still this legacy of people who've committed mass atrocities. And in this case, it was, it certainly, if you go to East Timor and so on, Indonesia it's targeted minorities and other ethnic groups. But in this case, actually in the 60s, literally, it was a mass murder campaign against those on the left. It was somewhat analogous to like the CIA-backed Operation Condor years in Latin America.
And, a lot of these folks are still around and in positions of power. Right. I know the security minister in Indonesia is actually like a wanted war criminal. So these ghouls are still hanging around in positions of power. So leftists in the country and students who are organizing these protests have, very real reason to be concerned and be worried.
Absolutely. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.